So your presentation is here.
Can you refresh that?
Refresh what? This thing?
Yeah.
This one?
The presentation. Perfect.
It's it's a streaming stream, but you can kind of work. And then press skip here and then go back here. All right?
Cool. Thank you. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How you guys doing? I hope you guys had a good lunch. So we just want to introduce ourselves real quick. We are Team InstaQuote. Chris Davis, who is not here with us today, was part of our front-end team. Harrison, also part of the front-end team. I'm Juan, and our newly employed junior dev, James, is on our back end with me as well. So the inspiration for our project was we wanted to build up our resumes and gain real-world experience and real-world references. We wanted to implement some active problem solving, creating a live application with real prices that helps people in their businesses. We wanted to use our skills to make them translate into actions that have impact on someone's business. This is our client. Our client is Online Digital Graphics. It's a local print and design firm established in 2016. They provide marketing materials and graphic design services to a wide range of local businesses. They produce several products in-house as well as leverage a few larger vendors to deliver exceptional advertising and educational solutions. So let me introduce you to one of the current situations that they have at Online Digital Graphics. This is what their situation looks like. Currently, a customer will call them up on a phone. They spend about 20 to 45 minutes discussing the product availability, what their assortment is, and the details, and the employee gives them details over the phone or in person. Then they spend about 15 to 25 minutes researching the product prices through physical databases, a large notebook about this big, and a couple vendor websites, so they're scrolling from tab to tab in order to get them the price. Then they actually deliver the price, which is another 5 to 10 minutes explaining where all the prices came from, what the markups are, and why they're being charged what they're being charged. And all of these time estimates are based on an interview that we had with some of the employees at Online Digital Graphics and some of the frustrations they expressed about having to go through all these different sources while somebody's either on the phone, on hold, or sitting right in front of them waiting to get what they need. And they are 90% of their business is B2B. So they're talking to other businesses who have other things to do with their time. Our solution. So we wanted to combine the live prices from a vendor API and a digitized database of stored in-house product prices, and then create a quote calculator, something that cuts the time down from possibly an hour or 2 hours to a couple minutes, so we can get better information faster to the people who need it. So we use agile methodology. You can actually still see the layout for our Scrum board in the back. So we set up a couple customer stories. The main story that we went with is that as a business owner, they want to be able to provide a very informed, very accurate price of their products and services to their customers in a very timely manner. We have a couple milestones that we wanted to share with you guys. Our first day was spent dedicating ourselves to our idea, who we were going to help, how we were going to help them, and what we needed to do for them. About day 5, James, I think you can talk a little bit about what activating the API was like.
Well, I don't want to steal my own thunder because I think there's more I can talk about later in the presentation. But the API, I'll start out by saying that the client had to get some keys from the actual vendor for the API. And so the time leading up to this, I was reading the documentation which made the API seem like it can be very, very simple. So I'll tell you later what we ran into once we got the keys, and I really got to delve into it more.
Spoiler alerts.
Yeah, exactly.
So around day 10, our front end created our very first quote. What was that like, Harrison?
Well, it was like he said. I had to deal with, or once he got the API figured out, I was able to access the data and put it into the front end. He also, for future implementation, was able to work with the API to build our own separate database that we could use to more easily access their API. But That's in the future. Yeah.
Later.
So Harrison's being really modest right now because not only did he have to take the JSON packages and show them in a way that is accessible to the business owners, but he also had to add in a markup because the prices that they're getting down from the vendor is not the prices that he's going to be selling to his customers. So he had to do a markup, add tax, and as well as figure in the time delays from what they're going to be charging if somebody needs something next day, or if they want it in 2 days, or if they're just doing regular shipping. So let's show part of the demo.
All right, so we have a basic login screen, and including email verification, everything validates, checks to make sure the user is in the database. And very basic home screen at the moment. So if we want to create an order. Oh, am I on the wrong screen?
Should be. Do you also, can we pull up the link that I sent you, just in case this one's not working?
No, I don't think I'm actually clicking. So, what do you want to?
We're trying to click this button right
There we go.
here. No, that one.
There we
Sweet.
go.
Thank you. Cool. So the product that they served the most of and was the most complicated and most useful for us to tackle for them was business cards. The API is huge, and there is a initial level of 287 different categories.
For example, do aquafoil with square corners, gloss on one side. There we go. Confirms it. And it gives you the additional options, like he was saying with the large book you have to sift through in order to find all the varying categories. This kind of simplifies it into some simple drop downs.
Let's change the color spec.
No, well, I think I already hit submit.
So right now what they have to do is they have to go through an entire notebook and look up how much is it going to be for 500 business cards, 1,000 business cards, 5,000 business cards, change the orientation, vertical, if you want additional PDF proofs or if you want an actual physical proof before you get the product. And all of these have different price implementations. They're either a percentage markup or an additional fee at least.
So, I think I'm off and digging, yeah. Oh, there we go. No?
That's really as far as we made it.
No, refresh.
Try it again.
Stay here. Just do the regular.
Switch it up.
You can sell this.
It's supposed to be dependent on, the logic depends on the action of the request. So if the request takes a little bit, it normally delays it. But
Those are all options that are persistent on the, yeah. So this is actually brings up a good point. It was one of our challenges that we faced. 4over is consistently updating their prices because they're live prices. So if the paper goes up in stock or up in price, then every stock amount is going to go up by that same amount. So we needed to actively call the API every single time that we're making an order. Every single time we're changing an option, we're changing a quantity, we're changing a runtime, we're making a call to the API on the fly to get back the current information so that they don't quote somebody at the wrong price and end up having to charge them later, which is something that consistently happens when you printed out a price list 5 days ago.
let's just try. Doesn't seem to want to cooperate.
If you have an in-process order, would it show up in history?
So, thank you for it. That brings up some of our future development. So right now, this is a business-facing application. So they get, it's more useful for them to get active updates from 4over, so they get email updates instead of having to come to this application. So actually, the point of this application is to simplify the ordering process. But that can be something that we want to do for future use.
Is it the user that uses it, or the
No,
employee?
this is the business. The business
Okay.
is going to be using this. Yeah.
Yeah, and how we had it set up is basically once you get past a series of categories and defining your order, it'll give you printed out with the estimation and the quote and the markup and everything. And like you said, we would want to attach it to each individual user with the joins using Sequelize and have a belongs to and as many. Or, I forget the exact method, but
I don't think we're on the page.
I was. Yeah, because you're. Is it to the left? Yeah. Yeah, you're there. Shouldn't matter. It was
Yeah, is
working
that
earlier.
second instance?
Yeah.
Another tab screwing it up.
Oh, this one?
But they haven't logged in. So.
It shouldn't be an issue, yeah.
Close it anyways.
Try refreshing it.
Try refreshing it one more time.
Let me go ahead and talk about the API while they're working on that. You want that in the background?
Sure.
So the 4over API, 4over is the vendor that this company sends out to for their larger print job. The API, like I said, when I read through the documentation, it's actually straightforward. Hit the API, grab a bunch of categories of products, send back a category, get a list of products, send back a product, get a list of options, send back a product with a list of options, get back pricing. Straightforward. Long string, but pretty simple. So once we got the keys, and I start, well, there you go. Awesome.
So, thank you, James. I'll slide in for a second and
Okay.
then I'll get back to you. So once the order comes back, this is the example of the order. So you get all of the detail from what you've picked. So 2 by 3.5, 16-point business cards with aquapol and UV coating. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different variables that had to be calculated into the price. So your order price is going to be the $89. The tax is going to be added in, and then that gives you the total. So if they can take that information based off of what their order is going to be, they're able to do a lot of different things and be more knowledgeable about their business. They can figure out margins. They can figure out the most ordered products. They can figure out reorders, like you were saying. If they're consistently getting the same thing and they're saving it in the database, then they can know what to reorder for next time. And that is the functionality. Can we get back to the
order screen?
or no, the
Presentation.
presentation? Yeah. Cool. API time.
So the what I found was the difficulty with the API is that when you picked a category such as standard business cards, you didn't start there picking filters. Standard business cards already contained about 280 items. So that means that some of the options that you saw there are already baked into the item. And there wasn't really a good way to, it didn't present itself early, a way to have drop-downs to choose that initial item. A single drop-down with 280 options didn't seem like a good user experience to me. So what I did is found that with each item, if you pull one item back from the API, you could see all the options available, and any attribute that only had a single option turned out to be something that was baked into the product. Anything that had multiple options is something we need later. So I wrote a custom script to loop through all of the products in a category, keep it in an array, which attributes only had one item to choose from, and then we created a database with those as columns. Then I wrote another script to loop through again and completely fill out that database with all the products and all the options So that our first step basically is choosing through those, again, baked in options to choose one of the 280 items. Then we pass that to the API to get the actual additional options for that item. So there's this whole extra step that was rough to say the least, to make it so that it's usable. It was completely unusable without that one step. The other good thing that lends to for the future is I also put a column in for active or inactive, so that they can simply, anytime they want to add, or anytime Online Digital wants to add or remove products that they're going to offer from 4over, they can just simply deselect the active column. So.
We as part of the backend, I implemented bcrypt for password authentication, and James implemented PHP for the signature authentication, which we were sending up to 4over. Working with an actual business, we needed to have their password secure in case somebody was accessing their website from the outside and wanted to do something that they shouldn't. We use SQLize for database management, Handlebars, Express, Passport, Node.js, and then we used a lot of the 4over API over and over and over.
Another good thing about working with a real client is it forced us to make this work. We didn't have the option of moving the goalposts and saying, you know what, let's just find another API because this one's kind of tough. So we actually had to get it done.
Which brings us to our challenges. The API, which you guys have heard a lot about, was a pain. Even getting it active and getting the signature working, it had to have a certain level of encryption on their end, which is why we had to use PHP. We could not use anything else besides PHP, and there was another option that was just ridiculous.
Everything in the API was
yeah.
UUIDs also, 32 characters, so that every item, every option, so nothing was human readable. So it was constantly cross-referencing, trying to make sure you're actually putting in something that was valid.
Git was also a challenge for us, getting everything, talking to each other. Travis, I'm sure you guys know that guy. He can be a pain sometimes. And then working with the actual business. So they have business hours. They have other clients that they have their own clients that they're dealing with, and dealing with 4over and getting somebody on the phone to be able to say, hey, has our request gone through? Which was a challenge, but it was also a benefit because we had somebody on the other end of the phone who could say, yes, this is going on, or no, this is not going on, or I have no idea why this is or is not happening. Which we are quickly learning that when somebody is on tech support on the other end of an API, they don't always know what tech support means to us. So those were some of the challenges that we had. This photo is definitely indicative of some of our time spent on this project. Some of the feedback that we received was that they feel like they're getting faster, more accurate quotes. That's exactly what they needed. That's what they wanted. That's what they've been spending a lot of time on that they no longer have to do. Alberto, he's probably the most tech savvy out of everybody who works there. And we were on the console log, and he was just like, oh, like that's really cool. It's like you're in one of the hacker movies. So he was really happy that he could save so much frustration of like, where did I leave that quote sheet that I just printed out? He was excited to show off the new tool to his employees, so before long he will be an expert in this too. We actually rolled out the business side of this to him 2 days ago, so they're really excited to be using this. What comes next? Customer facing. Told you we would include you in the project. Customer facing. We would like to show this to the customer. Obviously, they're not going to see margins. They're not going to see base prices, but they can go online, pick out some stuff, and completely omit the phone call, completely omit the trip to the store, the trip to the shop, getting in their car, and they can spend more time running their business. So they will be able to go online, make a quote, save it in the database, and then implement order placement. So 4over's API actually allows you to place real-world orders based off of the quotes that we've been creating. So we can send up that call and make a real order that they can later get back instead of calling 4over on the phone or sending an email or doing some of the other long things that they are spending a lot of time on. And then lastly is QuickBooks invoice integration. So QuickBooks has an API which one of our TAs told us about that is really, really good for sending the information that they have right now over to their QuickBooks. QuickBooks is something that they have just started using, and we'll be able to get them their their invoices that they can later send out to their customers after creating them online. Thank you.
How do you do the duct tape?
It's a photo. It's just a JPEG.
So how many tables are in your database?
Right now, the focus was on business cards, so it's just 4. The 4, there's standard business cards, there's aquafoil, there's painted edge, and there is suede. There's the
Sweet.
Those are the 4.
We
goes on forever. The number of categories, the number of items in each category. So
We've also started building out the customer database and the employee database. Those tables are already made for employees to be able to log on, but we've started building out the customer database because they were really excited about getting this implemented. And for them it seems real easy. Oh, a couple clicks and can our customers use it now? So that's kind of the next step that we're building. What's up, man?
What's your future timeline for your client right now in getting this app completed?
Future completed in what sense? The customer facing?
next
Yeah,
steps.
you were saying that you were focusing mostly on business cards now. But
Yeah.
there were 16 options or 12 options that were
Mhm.
on your home screen. You're going to be working with this client moving forward, flush it out the app, right?
Yeah, so the good thing about that is that all the API work is done. The heavy lifting has been done. So everything else is created in a in-house database. Literally it was like 5 or 6 pages of just handwritten notes that we had to digitize and keep in a database, and it's just going to be writing some simple logic for that stuff. But because they mainly deal in business cards, and it was kind of the only one that we were going to be using an actual API for, that's what we focused on. But yeah, we got maybe about a week or 2 out.
We also wrote it, like you said, in a generic way so we could apply it to the rest of the products, especially like what he was doing with creating a custom database. It does the same thing with whatever products he turns off and on.
I'm trying to be really careful about making it future-proof, so it'd be really easy to expand or as generic as possible.
What's up, Joffrey?
Do you see this as something that you can roll out to anyone who uses that for API? I mean, I'm sure other businesses
It's
are
onto
utilizing it.
It's on to us.
Yeah, because it seems like, how did you get this connection with this company?
It's a local business that I've had personal dealings with. They make my business cards, and they have also offered to apply a discount to anybody in the class who, if you guys are trying to get your business cards done for networking or whatever, you can definitely connect with us afterwards, and we'll hook you up with them. They're based out of downtown Phoenix. I was actually driving by. They have a Prince mural that they're working on, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So they're in the art district downtown on Roosevelt, like 15th Ave.
Well, one other question. So, I mean, because you guys, it seems like with the Agile, did that help you having like set goals in terms of here's what we're trying to hit and do?
I'll never do another project without stand-up meetings.
Wow.
It was, we didn't always get to them every night. There was at least one every night. Not everyone was on every single one every night. But the times that we did get on, and even if there was just 2 of us or 3 of us on, it was awesome. Like that was the best recommendation. One of the best recommendations.
We should do it through Discord. We obviously didn't do it
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did them on Discord. Sorry. So we were a really easy to use voice chat. Shout out to Daniel for setting that up, man. That was really helpful. Thank you. Yeah, Discord master over there. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Well, welcome to making lots of money.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Well, who's next?
Yeah.
How are you going to top that?
It's still loading.
So, our app is called Budget Buddy, and basically, so how many of you guys also have to deal with the fact that you have regularly occurring expenses and a relatively standardized income, but you still, every once in a while, are like, can I afford to put like $50 worth of gas in my car today, or do I have to wait till payday? That sort of deal.
How
and
much
now
money am
we
I
have a-
spending on my car? How much money am I spending where? Like, where is all my money going to? Like, I swear I had like $600 in this bank account yesterday. Where did it go?
Exactly. So,
When's that
in order to keep
Spotify
track of
build
your expenses, make sure you know where your monetary life is at all times. We created a very simple, straightforward, clean design budgeting app. on every button.
So,
All right, so to get started, we have to create a user.
I guess we don't.
I don't see it over
We're
there.
getting no cursor reaction here.
Oh?
Maybe
Someone
on the
help?
Trackpad.
Which way did we go? There.
Ah.
There you
Oh.
go. That is weird.
Okay.
All right.
Uh,
Someone
give me-
pick a username for me.
Yes, that's what I
Fred.
was gonna say.
What?
Fred.
Fred? Okay.
Fred.
Oh?
Yes, that's how you spell Fred.
Yeah.
Password.
Fred.
Fred.
Easy.
And what's your income, Fred?
$1 million.
There we go. 1 million.
$25,000.
I make $1 million a month.
In a month? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna do $1 million.
We're going to do $1 million.
Oh, but
Is that $1
real
million?
expensive.
Is there no zeros?
Go.
That's a lot
All
of
right. What does Fred have to spend his money on?
Bread.
Alcohol.
Bread? Would that be
That's how you spell alcohol.
overall groceries?
Just alcohol.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say he spends $1,000 on alcohol a month.
I mean, popping bottles.
Yeah.
We'll put that under groceries.
Or is that entertainment?
Could be both.
All right.
I'm gonna say he drops a solid like.
What else does
12
Fred have
large
to
on.
pay for?
Mortgage.
Fred likes to buy jewelry.
Oh, jewelry.
Mortgage.
We're gonna do mortgage first. How much is his mortgage?
1,700. 9,000. All right. That's right, because he makes $1 million. so-
Okay.
So
Like,
let's go big.
he knows how to save his money. All right.
Child support.
All right.
Yeah.
That works.
Oop. We're gonna put that. How does he have to pay? How many kids does he got? Oh Jesus.
50,000
50,000 makes sense.
per month.
Yeah.
Fred needs to get his life together, you guys.
That's why he's got a prenup now.
Fred's kids are spoiled.
What else?
Anything else you want to add?
Give him a car.
Give him a
He needs a
car.
car payment.
Okay.
Yeah. A McLaren.
Or would that just be Uber?
No, he has a McLaren.
He doesn't have a DUI, does he?
He might.
How much is his car payment?
$700.
$700. I feel like Fred would have.
That's a more appropriate.
7,000.
Oops.
Wait, no. Fred's got good credit.
Also,
That's surprising.
if you wanted to add a row, you could. Does that work?
Let's say we filled out all of these, right? You could add more if you want to.
I know, it's
So-
fancy.
Woo! All right, so let's see where Fred is at with his budget.
Who got money?
Okay.
There.
So, welcome, Fred. Your total income, your total expenses, and what's remaining. That's a lot of cheddar. We got a breakdown
Got
here.
money to spend. So if you hover over this, it'll show you what category, and it'll also show you the total in that category. So this is his other. This is how much for his rent or mortgage, transportation, groceries. So he's
Child support.
being eaten up by child support. That's the big thing.
You're also able to edit your income.
So if you go in here,
You put in one too many zeros.
say we got to get rid of that. I'm just going to tell you right now, that save button does not work.
Oh. All right.
Future development.
Okay. So, edit those expenses.
Right? We need an add button. I just realized that.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, this is what we call our MVP. It works.
So, like,
So-
say he pays, kids turn 18. He only has this kid left. So, he wants to save that. That would,
Does that one work?
no.
Okay.
Ideally, could ideally update the total remaining, the total of expenses, and then update the chart over here.
Right. We also have returning users. For returning users, just go ahead and type in the password using the password Fred.
Log right in.
You log right in.
Right to
you
your
skip
dashboard.
past the part where you fill in information. That's for new users.
Right, because
Um,
we won't want to make you add a whole bunch of expenses when you can just come to your dashboard and edit them right here.
Yeah. We also, for future development, we were going to hold this information in month categories. So you would have an option to select what month that you are trying to figure out your expenses are for that month. So you can reference those at any time.
I also wanted to do charts by category, so you could kind of like how a carousel works. You would be able to slide over, see that category, and how much that percentage you're spending in that category, as well as list all of the expenses in that category underneath it.
All right, now who wants to see underneath the hood? Where the magic happens? I know I do. All right, so we didn't use Passport.js. We didn't use any sort of authentication.
We didn't
That's
use
weird.
handlebars either.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we dropped that halfway through.
Suckers.
The way we did ours is okay. So let's start with the password. It's very simple. I'm just comparing what your username is to what's in our database and the password you put in. If it matches, then you continue on. It's so simple. You could actually probably look it up right now.
That was from okay.
What do you say?
Yes, it's a string. It's in the database.
Yeah.
It is not secure at all.
No. Again,
Future
future
It's a
development.
future development.
Not said that at all. I was already impressed by this.
Well,
Convenience and security.
at least we're honest about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's what we are. We're honesty.
Transparency.
Um,
Like this on right now. Just show you.
Also, in order to get the user information for their budgets and the user, we actually hold the user ID in URL itself. So when the page loads, it grabs that unique identifier and then just compares it to the user ID in the budgets table. I don't know if that made any sense.
Made sense.
Okay, good.
Which I feel in future development we should change the way that
just-
would work.
Make it look more sneaky. Just add a
Well,
whole bunch of letters.
let's say I change the ID to 7.
Dan.
Well,
Hey man, don't look at my stuff.
anyway. But yeah,
I'm just saying.
that's how we were able to do it. We went back and forth a lot on
We
whether or not.
revealed our secrets.
Yeah, I know. Underneath the hood, right?
We're not very good magicians, is what we're trying to say.
We fought a lot about whether we were going to do local storage for that. And then I referenced back to our in-class work that we did, and I saw that they threw it in the URL, and I was like, well, let's just do that. And then we decided we were going to do local storage again, and then we went back to this. So that was fun. To answer your question, merge problems. Oh, I love this story. Last
It's not
night,
a merge problem.
it kind of was.
It wasn't.
Last night we were at Starbucks.
Deployment problem.
Yeah, deployment.
Okay, so
Um,
we had our master deployed to Heroku, but it wasn't necessarily working.
So
yet.
you're not gonna say it as funny because
We pushed to our
it's about
test,
you.
And we would verify in our test and we would double check everything before pushing to master. So that's a nice background. But so we were coding it out yesterday, and Fiore was messing with code. And just like, why is nothing working properly? And she realized she was pulling from the Heroku.
No.
So that's where she had it open.
But vice versa, it was working for her, and then she told me pull it because this is the newest. We were practicing what we were gonna say, and we're just winging it right now because we actually spent more time on what we're talking about now. She's like, pull it, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. Wow, this looks great. And I'm like, but I'm getting nothing's
getting
happening.
this error, and
getting
I'm
this
looking at
error.
mine. I'm not getting this error. I'm like, what are you doing? What is different? I take his computer. I'm comparing it. Like everything is the same. It's working for me.
So she was doing a for loop, and she had pushed the data to a variable, a global variable, and then she was recalling that variable to indicize that variable. And I was like, that shouldn't work. So I removed the I, and then it started working. And then we started arguing because she hadn't the I, and it was working, and I didn't, and it was working. And when she removed it, it stopped working. When I added it, it stopped working. So then she realized, oh, wait a second. We actually don't need those 2 lines of code because I added something else that replaces that. I forgot about that. So we just delete it and then it starts working. So we pushed it. Then she tried working on it again and it stopped working again. And she goes, I don't understand why we're getting the same error. For 10 minutes, and she realized she was looking at our Heroku site that had the old problem, and she was refreshing. She thought she was looking at her local host. So,
For 10 minutes, I was like, I don't understand. This is so frustrating. I don't get it. Why?
so that was our funny story. Questions? Anyways, Budget Buddy. Yeah, what's up?
Did you say how the umbrella thing worked?
This? So we used Apex charts, and in the chart, there's a, it's basically a whole big object, and there's an option for, data labels, and if you enable that, and then have you can have a function in it to show how it displays. So I put a $sign in that function, so it would display the dollar amount. If I put a percentage, it'll show you the percentage of it. There were these little labels that show the percentage anyways on here, but it was super ugly, so I got rid of it. Apex charts.
Is it a library or an API? Or?
It's like a...
No.
It's like a...
That's like a data visualization library.
I suppose
you
so.
put like a, the address in, just like Bootstrap or something.
They like give you the code for it.
Oh.
So they have like basic charts that you could choose from, and then they have all these modifiers that you can do with them.
Okay.
There's no like a script file that we
No. Yes, I think so.
She did it. So.
Yes, there is. Sorry. That was like so long ago when I set it up, so I was working on getting it to actually work for the longest time. So that was one of my challenges, is getting the chart to actually display the proper data. Brandon helped me with that.
Nope. All right.
He just told me if I was right or wrong,
I saw that you were having some issues with the updating on the tables, and that's fine. Does your deletion work? I saw a little red button for deleting items inside. Does the delete work?
That's actually to just cancel out of this, but there should be a delete button on each row to get rid of them. But every time I did it, appended that delete button, it kind of gave it to each column.
We talked about what is our MVP, getting the data and displaying it and doing the little math magic and all that stuff was our MVP. Going back and being able to delete and add new budgets was more of a what we wanted. Expenses, thank you, that was the word. That we wanted to get to after we got our MVP. But we had a few hiccups. Thankfully, after last night's debacle, we were able to get our MVP and show it to you guys today. But the back end part of it, there is the code there for deleting and updating, but we just didn't get
It's there,
all of it.
and it should function properly. We just don't have the buttons
Or the connections.
or the connections set up yet. That's it.
Yeah.
So if I were to go and set that up, it could work as soon as that's done.
Yeah.
It's just we didn't connect that yet.
Are you impressed?
I regret asking. I should have said.
Oh man.
I know.
No, the UI is really, really good. It's really visually pleasing. But I regret saying yes when you said I want to go under the hood. I should have just said no.
All easily fixed issues.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good job, guys. Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You can just use the.
Thank you.
So here's the trick is if you keep it over here.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, just keep this. Back.
Well, I'm gonna change the scroll. Just for 1 second.
Okay.
We'll change it back.
We'll have to come back.
Promise.
This guy's a
Sorry. He's driving me crazy.
Very good.
Actually, as long as you're doing it.
I cannot operate.
So as long as you're doing it. As long as you're doing it, let's do it all the way. Got to click. Got me clicking all hard. Hey everybody, how's it going this afternoon? Who's hungry? Who's angry? Who's hangry? A few people, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's like two pissed off hands. Raise my hand. Let's introduce the group, and then we'll tell you about this app. First, we'll start with about. See, this whole Harry Potter theme, I don't know what was going on, so here we are. This is Sir John the Wise. Young Andrew.
Hi.
This is Kellen. He's Kellen it. I'm the chess meister. Chess. Hey, everybody. We also have this kind of stuff we worked on as well, laid out. I'm not going to say this was super stressful, but like that's, yeah, this is like what we looked like before we started this project. And now we look like this. So, brutal. Yeah, so we got the Codemaster, Prodigy. Guys, we're going to get through this quickly because everyone's going over. We're going to try to only go a little bit over. Actually, let me start my timer. So, yeah, John, back end. Man, this guy's if you're having Git branch issues, you got to get in touch with John here. It's ridiculous. He's saved us so much. Andrew, yeah, we'll see some of this stuff as what we've done as we go along. And yeah, I'm the Kanban enthusiast. But our app is about, for all you angry and hungry people, it's about changing your state of mind, right? It's about mental health to a certain degree, right? You know, it's a lot of people, it's almost like people, they get in a certain way where they think their emotions actually define who they are, right? And so we're trying to like provide a tool for people to be able to understand that with this maybe a few little, maybe some content you might be able to digest, consume. You might be able to change your mindset, mind reset. Come on, guys, get on board. And
it's the tagline.
Yeah. So what we have here is actually a swiper function. So we're trying to go for the touch functionality. So we have more, a variety of ways that you might be feeling, and based on these various, again, it's maybe a little better for actual touch. But you can click on these, and based on what you click, you'll be able to have unique responses, right? And then based on these options, because like, you don't want to be like, actually we'll go back one. Tell me you have the swipe set up correctly. The home back, there we go. So if you are happy, you don't necessarily want to be like, oh, I need to be cheered up, right? They need to be sensitive to a certain degree of what, what the content you're choosing, right? So if you're sad, you don't want to be like, feel grounded. You might want to be cheery or motivated, right? So based on those options, we'll click here, and one will pop up here, and we have this modal here very specifically, so this is where we kick it to the database. Yeah.
I don't want to be inspired anymore.
Yeah, well, maybe you want to change your mind. You're like, I'd rather be amused. Inspired sounds like too much work. So you can go to amuse.
Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And then we'll kick here to content that is dynamically displayed based on your based on your selection, right? So it captures that data, and then it would provide like a relevant Spotify playlist. If you're already logged in, it'll work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to log in and all. Oh, maybe I think we'll play 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
For everyone streaming at home, you might want to turn your volume down so you don't get hit by oh geez, what have we done?
What'd you do? Way out.
That's the funniest thing. Zoom for people. Zoomed way out. That's great. That's hilarious. So yeah, we basically. I was trying to turn the volume up, but. Oof. So yeah, this is what we got here, and so we go back, and so each time you would go through, it would display different content up front here, right, or of the very back end, and then ideally you'll be able to go through and go to your history, and be able to scroll through and see your previous searches. We're going real hard for that white girl demographic. It's a great demo, lots of money. We mixed it up a little bit. Then we got a bro. He's so relaxed right now. So relaxed. But yeah, so we actually have the authentication through Google Auth, right? We had some issues with that up front because we were using Passport to do that, and we started with the bcrypt, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we were doing? Nice sign is Kyle if he's still in.
It's still Passport.
Hey, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
I'd like to order some stuff off the dark web. Okay. So yeah, and in using this, ideally what would happen is on these different choices, every single one of these clicks, these are not necessarily captured, these are just dynamically captured, and it doesn't get kicked, because if each one of those on clicks would actually kick the database, like what if they change their mind, right? So if they reconsidered or they restart, like you don't want all that information captured. But let's say if someone was just clicking around and just seeing what the different options were, like just to kind of, for shits and giggles. Can we curse in here? Okay. Yeah. It would all be here, right? So we don't necessarily, like, maybe they have like a history that's all filled out with the options you were just testing to see what actually worked, right? So we would click here to maybe delete the entries. That would keep her. Delete this guy. Oh, geez, that sticky footer. Cheer it up. Looks about right. So yeah, we basically have this dynamically created way to generate all this content. Now we did have issues similar to the last group where we spent a tremendous amount of time debugging towards the very end. So we end some of the earlier groups where routing some of the APIs, because we had like a selection of like 4 or 5 different third-party APIs that we could not actually use in the way that we were supposed to, routing them through the controller, right? So it was really frustrating. And then we were trying to deploy parts of the database for our second table, because we have to have a table for the user auth, but we were trying to create one for the history that saved all the searches. Because basically, I think we decided that they're called states. So this is our current state. How are you feeling now? And then once you click, it gives a selection of desired states based on that. And so again, once you actually confirm or not, that's when it would go to the database. And then based on that keyword, the desired state, it would display all here. So it would be entertained, et cetera, the different types of information we kicked here. So this is the idea, and we also have a nice thing about the resources for mental health. And yeah, that's 6 minutes. So yeah, we have some future. Does anyone want to talk about any of the challenges we faced real quick? And
Passport's a bitch.
Passport's a bitch. We hate it. It should die. Handlebars is terrible. I actually had a mustache. I shaved it because it was so annoying. It's like I can't even look at this. It was just getting pervy too. It was super annoying. We used handlebars, the blocks and partials. It worked out great. I wish we would have had a little more time to look out to use some of the helper functions in within handlebars. Would have been super helpful, but we just use jQuery. It's like a French jQuery. It's pretty good.
The common trend that I think is going across all the groups is if we had 2 or 3 more days, we would be in a little bit better of a state. But
also have a pun that's probably as bad as if we can't log out. You're just in. So we have I'm calling it Hotel Applifornia. Once you log in, you can never leave. Okay, all right. Future development, we would like to be able to have the results be more like tailored, right? So we have a handful of APIs, and we can search based on the different types of desired states. Which actually, I have a quick 15-second sidebar. We had to be very careful to procure those results. It's not a straight query into these APIs. Otherwise, if you search for like happy, you might get like for YouTube or Spotify or something, you might get like Pharrell Williams or whatever, but you also might end up with some, I don't know, who knows, speaking in tongues type nonsense. But we had like Kellen went through and like procured a tremendous amount of content for all the different desired states. So the lists themselves are procured. So that kind of brings us to one of the future things. It'd be nice to be able to, like on the history page, to show like the actual searches and not just if that worked or not. But it'd be cool to be able to capture and have the user rank which options work best for them, and not necessarily all the content, because we don't want to store their database information, the API information. Maybe the content type, and compare that to if it was actually useful for them or not, and be able to see more closely with that data from like an administrative view. If like, oh, maybe we need to like take some movies out of here, or the selection of movies isn't really working very well. Some sort of way to like custom tailor it and improve it over time to help people, just to make the results sharper, right? And then also a way to present the results that, and I heard about some sort of Apex Legends. What was that called? Apex charts? That sounds great. That would be really cool for this, because the card-based system is okay. It's just for mental health stuff, I think you have to kind of be mindful of if you show a chart in a certain way. Like if someone's sad, we're not necessarily trying to like say that if you're sad and you want to be like inspired, we're not trying to like add like connotations of quality, like you should be ashamed for being sad, or you should be, like if you're to be able to log in and be like, yeah, I'm sad, and I want to be cheered up. Like I don't know. So the way it's displayed would just be very like to be mindful of that.
Downward slide.
Yeah, right. Well, that's another thing. You have being able to show the right results. You want to be like, I'm feeling sad. I want to be cheered up, and then it shows you like suicide makes 97. It's like the Crow soundtrack. Yes, you do have to be mindful of that type of stuff.
It's like, I'm happy, I want to be sad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then, and maybe perhaps a way for users to self-assess at the beginning, if they were able to like I don't know, how do I feel? And then maybe like a short like quiz or some sort of like way for them to maybe quickly assess their own state if they're not sure what that is. And then if we were to monetize it, some after dark stuff, maybe you click a button, it all goes dark, and the APIs are like the weed API and like the escorts near you, whatever. Just trying to think of a way to like have money, because it's not free, or this is free, but it's like you have to pay for life, right? So
Dark web.
dark web. That was 8 minutes. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
so when you you pick whatever you are, like how does it pick for like the movies that it displays? So you said that he was like he picked a bunch of them. Like,
Well, he procured the list, and so it actually is like an if statement that it goes through an array of objects with it lists the original state. So each movie is paired with an original state, and so if the desired state, like I want to be amused, matches up with amused in this array, that has a list of movies. So maybe like 10 movies, right? So it matches and it displays the relevant information.
An array of happy movies, an array of inspirationals,
okay.
like Rudy.
What's that?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, yes, that's where that would be.
It's not in a database.
Yeah. Well, because again, we faced a lot of we just faced issues deploying our history table.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, this is all like smoke and mirrors. Yes. We have just enough.
Didn't you learn to not ask what's under the hood?
Under the hood, behind the curtain. Yeah. I try to tape it down. Surprise.
What else?
Surprise. Oh, buddy. All right. So let's talk about it.
So I was primarily the backends, the API calls, setting up the Google authentication with Passport and various things. So.
I helped out with the front end and a lot of the content research.
I was also working with Andrew on the back end of things. YouTube API is hell, because what's the one thing that YouTube doesn't give you is a JSON response for the actual video.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time working on something that ended up getting dropped. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. You would need to do a search for an ID, get the ID, and then
I don't know how he got
use
it working.
use the embedded
Where he got it
YouTube response with the ID to
I didn't even
do
look at it. I
three
just know
separate
it works.
And then I did a lot of the design and
you prettified everything.
and front end. A lot of the front end stuff was up pretty late last night, kind of polishing some of that up, and then just making it presentable because we had so many like just issues with the database stuff towards like the very critical end. It's just we had to be able to present something here. It was really frustrating, but again, it's like a lot of people were like a lot of the groups were like right on the precipice of it, just fully
Just
working.
A few more days, and it would have been.
So yeah, we are. I was doing some of that, and yeah, this has been an idea that's been like near and dear to my heart for a bit. So yeah.
Last question.
Yeah. Well, did you guys do the like agile?
Well, we did like an agile light. So we did like
we were using Trello.
Yeah, we were using the Kanban style, Kanban. Can we decide on what that is? I don't know. Kanban. Kanban. I feel like I should bow if I say it like that. All right. So the Kanban, I feel like I'm like more attentive on that side of it. So it's after the first night, it was all the board was all set up. The users, I was here the very first night, laying out all the user stories, getting all the requirements on a checklist, getting everything laid out. So like. Signing tags to different like members of the group. I mean, yeah, I really.
A lot of meetings.
It helped a lot, yeah. Yes and no. I feel like it's supposed to prevent bottlenecks, and it didn't necessarily. I don't know. I still feel like there's an element of feeling like the front end had to be more fully done to start the back end. I feel like we should have just started everything earlier, because we got like a proto version up on Heroku pretty early on, but it. There's not a lot of database stuff going on. It doesn't, whoop to shit, I would say. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question, but yes, we applied it, but it could have gone a little bit more smoothly on that front. So, I mean, we're all students. And a lot of us are full-time working. It's only so many hours in the day. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Once it's up and running, if y'all want to use it, y'all are welcome to check it out. We're gonna get it going. Like, there's times where we like maybe really helpful to actually use this app right now. We're so stressed out.
I think it was so on the app store.